All right, we're hot. We're live. Action. One of these days, I want somebody to be like they do with like the news guys or something. See, we got a new hat. Yeah, so we didn't have a red Diesel Life hat. Found one at the truck stop. I didn't even know they carried these. So, doing the video. Yes, you guys got to watch me and my ugly mug. I'm sorry. We have not gotten home yet. We dropped the dog off yesterday. But we'll be home this weekend, like I said. We'll get our gyro. You guys could be watching the hood, and then maybe you see something, friggin' how crazy these four wheelers are while we talk to you instead of having to look at me. So, for today's video, you're stuck with me. And on a side note, I want to just let you guys know if you have one of these X15 performance motors, you already know. But if you don't, and you're thinking of getting a truck, I would highly recommend. I mean, I know they got the efficiency series, and that's going to get better fuel mileage and this and that, but when it says performance, it really means like performance, man. This thing, it's like the steeper the grade, the heavier it is, the better it pulls. We just literally, we have a overweight permit for as long as we stay on secondary non-interstate roads for 97,000 pounds. I'll haul 9,000 gallons of ethanol, puts me just a shade over 90,000, which is fine. As like I said, we have permits for that, so not out here breaking the law. Only bummer is I can't get on the interstate, but that's fine. But anyway, we pulled this pretty good size hill. It's probably, I don't know, 5%er. Uh, but it's pretty long. And it goes up and then it drops down for just a second and then it goes back up. And it's not a mountain. But anyway, there was a truck in front of us that pulled out of the same plant where we pulled out of. Now he's got a 3-axle trailer, but I know he only hauls like 8,500 or 8,300 as he gets on the interstate. And with his additional axle, I think that's all he can pull. But man, I left the railroad tracks behind him, and you know, I started gaining on him before the bottom of the hill, trying to pick up speed, and I hollered at him on the radio to like, "Hey, speed up!" And he's like, I'm trying," and she just walked right on by him, just right up this hill. And it's like, the more we got into the hill, the better it started doing. This thing, when it means performance, that torque just really shows its face when it's pulling a hill with a heavy load. And like I said, the steeper the hill, the heavier the load, it shines more and more. I was shifting gears. I come out of what I call the top of 8th into the bottom of 9th, 3/4 of the way up this hill, passing this guy. And he's like, "What do you got in there?" Like, "Yeah, got it coming. Rather be coming than stroking." So that's a side note, right? If you're thinking about a motor, if you're gonna run heavy or heavy-ish, even if you're grossing 80,000 pounds most of the time, if you can give on that fuel mileage just a little bit, do yourself a favor and get the performance series. So, but today's video, the topic is freedom in trucking, because we keep hearing this from, quite often. I don't know, it's just like a wave here this last month of, all this, there, you got all this freedom when you're an owner operator. So I wanted to touch on that. Now, mind you guys, you know me, and I'm not going to bullshit you. Different people have different experiences, right? So maybe other owner operators in the same position I'm in have more freedom. Everybody's situation is different. I can just tell you my opinion and my thoughts on it from what I've personally experienced, what I've learned from other drivers, and so on and so forth. I can only give you. I'm not just gonna talk about stuff I don't know, because that's not gonna help you, and I just don't do that. I have no problem being like, well, I don't know. But we have been trucking for 7 years now. We've had our business open for 5 years. 3 years of that, it has been actively operating, and we're still out here doing the gig, right? So I've already bought. This is my second truck. We'll be looking to get our third probably in a year or so. Um, and so I would say I'm successful. To me, I feel I'm successful, and we're just going to keep going down that road. So when I talk about I just wanted to touch on this. When I talk about these specific subjects, I don't want y'all to, you know, take it to the bank, or tell me, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about, because it's not that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just giving you my opinion from my personal experience and what I hear from, other people in trucking and talking to drivers over the road and whatnot. So, I get, company guys will see me in the fuel island, or they'll see me at the truck stop, and obviously the first thing they see is the truck, and right now we're adding a bunch of stuff to it, and she's starting to light up, and we just got her polished, so she's looking really good. And then they see me, and they're like, well, yeah, this guy's fairly young. Uh, let's let's hit him up. And they're like, after they get through all the rigmarole, one of the things that they say a lot of the times is, I want to become an owner operator, because you guys get so much more freedom, and that's BS. That's bullshit. Excuse my language. Um, in trucking, there's what I guess I would say there's like four different levels, right? You've got your company driving, which is the most regulated, as far as your freedom goes. You've got your lease operator, that's just leasing a truck, basically paying for somebody else's truck. They've got a bunch of rules. And then you've got your owner operator, like me, um, has a truck in a business, and they're contracted to a carrier. And then you have a carrier, um, or like my company, Hercules Transport. That's a trucking company, but I don't have a DOT, and I'm not running my own freight with direct customers. I don't consider myself a carrier. Um, so the guys out there, you know, like Sammy and Life is Good, and other YouTubers, they have their own DOT, um, their own truck, their own business. They are their own carrier, right? They're their own Landstar, their own Warner. They have the most freedom, because the only uh, the only people they really have to answer to is the FMCSA and DOT. They just have to abide by the rules, and they're regulated like the rest of trucking. But they have no bosses higher than them. Um, so to get to the ultimate freedom in that case, you know, that's what you got to have. But there again, they're still hindered like everybody else. They have, finances and bills they have to pay, and bottom line they got to reach, and they have goals like everybody else that, will dictate in some way, form, or fashion how long they can be home, or you know how many miles they got to run, or you know what's their minimum rate per mile, and but time constraints as far as when they can go home and how long they can go home for, they're hindered like all the way down, just like a company guy. You have X amount of dollars in bills, so you got to make X amount of money. And then more money than that if you want to, make money. But so we'll go through this real quick. I don't know if it'll be real quick, but obviously, unless you just like hearing me talk, which I watch a lot of YouTubers, I just more or less listen to what they're saying and stuff while I'm driving down the road. I don't listen to so much music. Um, put it on in the background and enjoy the sweet sounds of my voice. So let's go through these 4 stages here real quick. If you're new and you're thinking about getting into trucking, if you're thinking, these recruiters, when they bring you on, their big thing, I mean, they'll sell you the moon to get you to come on, especially right now, because they are in need of drivers. And, excuse me, I'm going to tell you the truth from my personal experience. Company driving, okay, you get in, once you get through all their training or whatever, so many hours with a trainer, and you get into the truck, you get into your truck, yeah, there's really not a whole lot of freedom anymore, especially nowadays. Talking to a couple of company guys over the road from various companies, they, they, all the way down to like when to run. Like, we want you to run this shift with this load. You need to do this many miles a day. Start here, end there. This is where you need to fuel. This is the route you have to take. They tell you how many days you have to stay out. And then they tell you how many days you get off for how many days you stay out. You stay out a week, you get a day off. So, and in that sense, when you're a company guy, I can totally see where you guys feel like there's just no freedom, because there's really not. I mean, but if you step back and, it's easy for me to look at it now as a business owner and an owner operator. If I had trucks out there and I was paying people to drive them, and you see some of these guys that, they just lazy and they don't run, they don't mind their fuel at all. They'll literally buy fuel at, there'll be 2 truck stops off the same exit. One will be 20 cents higher a gallon, and they'll buy fuel there just because they want to get Taco Bell. So they're not watching out for the bottom line. A lot of guys wind up on roads they're not supposed to be on because they're following their car GPS. So, I mean, they come up with all these rules and for reasons, and unfortunately, for the good ones out there that get into it and want to have a little bit of freedom, they're taking that away for sure. So yeah, company driving, there's no freedom. Not anymore. Especially with bigger the companies. You get on smaller companies, that could be different, but bigger companies, forget about it. Like Donnie Brasco, forget about it. Be like, forget about it. I'm not saying, I don't have a good Italian accent like Johnny Depp. So let's move on to level number 2, the lease operator. I've never done this personally. When I looked into it, I couldn't find anything good about it, because I thought about taking that avenue to get my own truck. And I really hate these companies that prey on guys willing to pretty much sign whatever to get a truck, just because, whether they want the title and they think they're going to get something more out of it than they are. 90% of the time they don't work out. I've had my best friend over the road do 2 or 3 of them, and he's a worker. I mean, he's a worker, and the way that they're set up, never got through all 3 of them. Either they ran him hard the first year, it's like the closer he got to paying for the truck, the less they would run him, the more screwed up loads they give him, or the truck starts breaking down, and the little bit of money that you're making as a lease operator versus an owner op, was just not enough. So then you're in the hole with them because they're fixing your truck. So I mean, I apologize if you're doing the lease operator thing and it's working out for you. That's great. I can't have anything good to say about them. And being not have done it myself, um, I don't know the exact particulars on it, but like I said, my best friend out here over the road has done 3 of them, and you know, you get more control as they don't care which routes you take, you know, but they're still looking for your loads. They're still booking your freight for you. The company is, you know, you're running their fuel, so you know they'll fuel at so many places. You know, hey, you can only fuel at TA Petros or Loves or whatever, but they don't tell you what fuel stops to go to. Like, hey, go to the Flying J off exit 40 in Oklahoma on I-40. You know, they don't give you a specific truck stop to stop at like these bigger companies do now. But you know, if you saw it at say a Casey's for less money, because as a lease operator now you're paying, really the only thing you're paying for everything, in the sense that they take it out of your settlement. So you see it at the Casey's for like 20 cents less a gallon than what you got to pay for it at Love's. But their fuel card doesn't work at Casey's. Apologize, we're going through this rough part of town here, so bear with me. So you got to buy it there. Now you just pay 20 cents more a gallon for fuel that you could have, if you had your own fuel card, you know, Life Takes Visa, you could have got it at Casey's and saved you money. And when you're an owner operator, saving money is the goal. Keeping your operating costs low, you know, saving money where you can, because not every load will have a big profit margin. Some of them can be pretty thin. So you need to save the money where you can. So you have more control and more freedom in that sense. And you have a little more freedom as your home time goes. But there's still, you know, if you don't run enough miles to pay for that truck, they're going to be on your back. You know, like, oh, you've got to do at least 8,000 miles a month. That was his deal. He had to do 8,000 miles a month. And then after that, you know, they didn't really care if he could have went home for the rest of the month, because they know, yo, this guy's probably not going to finish this. We'll find some way to get this truck back. And so run your 8,000, pay for the cost of the truck, and we'll make our money off of that, and then you can go home. So there's a little more freedom in that, but I wouldn't recommend going that way. I really wouldn't, like, at all. But I won't slam guys for taking that route, especially if they find one that works for them. I'd be throwing YouTube videos out like crazy if I was the guy that found a lease operator position that actually worked out and made good money and had all the freedom as a owner operator. So now on to the third one, where a lot of us are, the owner operator. This can kind of vary as far as it depends on the company you're with and what you're doing. Like pulling hazmat is not like when you're working at Landstar, where you work off a load board, or like when I was working at Carolina Logistics, and I could search multiple load boards and then, you know, call in and get the load and then run it through my quote-unquote dispatcher to secure it. I could use their DOT number or MC number and get the load. Pulling a tank like I am now, and like when I started, when I was working at Trimac, you know, you're not going to find a place where you can just pick hazmat loads, you know, like this, oil and ethanol and, you know, heavy product, industrial gas. Those are sold, those are something that carriers have, you know, these companies, and they're contracted to move it. So like Trimac and like here, I get loads from my boss every day. So signed a contract with him, and in there, in more words, it basically says, that you will help fulfill the needs to cover my needs to satisfy the customer. So if the customer gets extra loads, or they need stuff moved on one of your days off or something like that, if their rate of work increases, so does yours, and you don't really have much say in that. Now, obviously, it gets divvied out, and if he's got other trucks to spread it around to, then he does. I haven't run into that problem here, and I don't think I would. But at Trimac, you definitely did. If they got more barrels allocated for the month, and they didn't have enough guys, guess what? You started working extra days. Now there again, they can't force you to work extra days, just like your boss at McDonald's can't force you to work an extra day. But when they come to you and they ask you and you say no, well, everybody, you got to deal with the fallout. Oh, you're not a team player. Oh, when it does slow down, then you're going to be the first one to get sit. And, they play all kinds of games. So it can be a real pain. Here, I just get a load like every day. I'll touch on that in the end. But so you have companies like that where you're contracted, so you kind of got to help fulfill their needs. And then, you got companies like Landstar and Mercer, and I think Bennett, and there's probably a bunch more out there they really do kind of give you the whole power of an owner-operator, which is nice. And I know at Landstar, if I'm not mistaken, I hope I'm not misquoting here, but if you can run, like they'll still run your IFTA, or you got to run your IFTA if you run your own fuel and stuff, or they can track it off the Qualcomm, I'm not sure, but you can definitely run your own plates and have your own physical damage and bobtail liability with them. And they could care less when you go home. You have nothing to do with, there's no dispatcher, right? So in the sense of freedom and being an owner operator, places like that, I can't comment on other companies because I didn't work there, but supposedly they're, Snyder, IC Choice, and divisions like that, there's other companies supposed to be kind of like Landstar, from what I've been told from other owner ops. But, it's your truck. You saved up the money, went and bought a truck. You leased it onto them. You have your own business and your own truck, so you're leased to them. They could care less if you're not paying your bills. Every run you run, they get a percentage of, so they're fine with that. And as long as you're covering the expenses from whatever you're getting from them, i.e., plates and insurance and your quarterly IFTA reports, money you owe them, as long as you cover that, you're good. And that's another good thing. Companies like that for new owner operators is really nice, because say you buy a truck, but you can't afford to carry your own fuel right now. You can't afford, because just getting your own truck and just moving it down the road is hard. It can be very difficult. And being responsible for the maintenance and the payments of the truck. But, you can get your plates through them. You can get your insurance through them. Really, the only thing you got to have is your 2290. So you can show up and they'll help you out, and they'll set up an escrow account for you. And they do all that stuff to help the owner operator. I'd highly recommend Landstar to anybody starting fresh out, because they have a bunch of tools to help you along to kind of better understand how to be a successful owner operator. They've got the loads for the owner ops to keep them busy. They go through the same struggles as everybody else, as far as market volume, but I would recommend it. And then you can start taking on more of that yourself. But as far as when you go home, how hard you run, you know, that freedom there, your personal time, they leave that totally up to you. So that's nice. And then, like I said, if you're contract to a company like this, it's a little less freedom where, I signed up to work Monday through Friday basically when I came on over here. Um, and I'll work extra days when I want. Uh, and I've taken more time off when I want to, but I have to give him a heads up. I can't come to him on a Thursday and say, hey, I'm going to take Friday through Monday off. I always give him at least a week in advance, but so far I haven't had any problems, and I got a load every day. But as far as when I run and how hard I run, that's totally up to me. As far as I can start whatever time, as long as whatever plan I'm going to, if I can load 24/7, then I can start whenever. If they're open from 9 to 5, then I got to load between then. It works for me. Get out of here, fly. It works for me. I love it. I've had more freedom here. I have just as much freedom here, I feel, um, with a heavier workload than what I had when I was at Landstar. So, um, totally happy with that. Now, on to the fourth and final. If you're so lucky you just have a bunch of money, or you got a financial backing or something like that, and you can just come right out of the gate with your own DOT and buy a truck and get all the insurances you need and all the permits you need, um, then yeah, you've got all the freedom you want. You could pull whatever trailer you want that you can afford. There again, this is all if you got the money to do it. Which, just like everything else, if you have the money to do it, you can pull whatever trailer you want. I'm gonna pull dry van this week and flatbed the next week. I'm gonna go do tanker this week. You can bid on contracts. You can try to get in those circles and do other stuff. You can take as much time off as you want. You can run as hard as you want. You can lie and break the rules and do whatever you want to. So if you're looking for the ultimate freedom out here to just do whatever you want and answer to nobody but the law, I hope you got a lot of money, because it takes quite a bit to get started. And you got to be making quite a bit to keep it going and keep it successful. My advice would be to take it on step by step, little bit at a time, and just get to where you're happy and stay there. So that's all we got, guys. Hopefully this was somewhat informational. Like I said, I don't want you guys to, I guess the whole reason for this is when people see me out in the field, or they see me in public or truck stops and shit, I want y'all to think I got all the freedom in the world, man, because I don't. If I want to put stuff on the truck, I got to work more to make more money. If shit, what am I trying to say here? If I couldn't afford to take the time off, then I just can't take the time. I got to stay in the truck. It just kind of comes down to that. And even though the company I'm with right now runs like the run I'm doing today, I haven't done in over a month, but he's got certain areas he works kind of all over. Well, all over here in the Midwest and in the southeast a little bit. But we're all hindered by something that cuts that freedom line down a little bit, unless we hit the lottery and we just or got a large sack of cash and we just work when we want, right? But I think anybody would do that. But I don't want y'all to think that there's more freedom in trucking because of the way the business is run, the industry is ran, than what you would find as a mechanic, working a 9 to 5. It can be just as plain as that. You wind up working a local job for Coke or Coors or something. You work 8 to 5 and you go home. We'll see you on this day. So, alrighty, guys, I'm gonna let y'all go. Holy shit, I cannot believe we done tied them up for 30 minutes. Um, as always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Um, if you liked it, cool. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry. You don't have to watch it again. Y'all have fun out there. Keep that shiny side up. And we will catch y'all on the next vid. Thanks for watching.